Welcome to the Chronically Will podcast, where we have real conversations with community that need to be heard. On this episode, you will hear from Veronica. Veronica has lived with type 1 diabetes for nearing 3 decades. The past 2 weeks have been tough for me, but as soon as I opened this file and began editing, I couldn't stop smiling. I truly thank you, V, for helping me during this time of healing. Veronica is 100% raw. Hence, that's why she wanted this episode to be titled Raw, Uncut, and Real. But you will definitely understand why I gave it the title that it's been given. Diagnosed at the young age of 11 and fully having to take on diabetes management since then has been trying. What it hasn't been, though, is out of her reach and control. Through this conversation, you will hear the amazing things Veronica is doing and her future plans for helping others. If you had the opportunity to chat with Veronica, you will leave that conversation smiling, crying, laughing, and with hope. Thank you, V.
I live in Birmingham, Alabama, but I am originally from a small town in Alabama called Tanner, and it's country. Like, my last name is Bridgeforth, and where I'm originally from, I live on Bridgeforth Road. So everybody who lives on my road is like a close family member.
That's crazy because I know some people last name Bridgeforth, but I don't know if they originate from down there, but they're up here in the Philadelphia area.
So since, Bridgeforth isn't a common name, I'm almost 100% sure we're connected in some way. But
because Bridgeforth, I think that it's originally dates back. It's that name it's European, somewhere in England, right?
Yeah.
UK.
And so I think we originated, I can't remember if it's around Tennessee, but my family has a very, very rich history. So my granddad started a cotton farm years and years ago, and like here in Alabama, especially North Alabama, my family is very well known because we still have the cotton farm, and we have a deep history. And my granddad's brother, like way back in the day, there was a you remember when they used to have the black baseball teams, like in the 40s, 50s, 60s? Yes, my uncle for a long time owned the one in Birmingham, and it's a lot of history.
I'm trying to remember the name of it. The
Birmingham Barons.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were originally were bought out maybe by the White Sox.
Yeah.
Okay.
And at one point in time, Michael Jordan played for them.
Right, because that was the minor league team for the White Sox.
I don't know why, but I'm just now getting a space in my life where it's like I'm ready to jump in, I'm ready to advocate, I'm ready to do all I can do to spread awareness.
Ready to do the things that you need to do. And it's going to help yourself grow also, like mental adjustment. I mean, even if it's 28 years later on down the road or whatever, like from your own diagnosis, it doesn't matter when you actually hop into the realms of like being that advocate for yourself and for others. It's your time.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you what really woke me up and put a fire in me. I've always, loved when I ran across other type 1 diabetics. And it's just like, I think every diabetic, we get the same feeling when we're out in public and, we see somebody, with a Dexcom or an insulin pump, you be like, oh my God, somebody who knows exactly how I feel. Because, it's not that often when we see other people who,
you feel it in your heart.
Yes. And it's just like, oh my God, I just run up to them and be like, oh my God, can I give you a hug? And they be looking like, and then I'd be like, I feel you. I know what you're going through. And they'd be like, they have like the same reaction. But I've always, had a passion for it. But what really woke me up, I'm the youngest of 3 sisters. Well, 3 sisters. My older sister is about 10 years older than me. I have another sister. She was 2.5 years older than me, but 4 years ago, it'll be 4 years on April 25th, she passed away from pancreatic cancer. And when she died, it was so many people who said so many great things about her. And I'm like, my sister left her mark. And, it just got my wheels turning like, I want to leave my mark, because that just showed me, you never know when it's your time. Like, you never know. And at the time, I was 34 going on 35, and she was 37 when she passed. And, you don't hear about a younger Black woman having pancreatic cancer. But she was diagnosed March the 6th, and she passed away on April 25th. So it happened really
very
quick.
fast.
Very fast. And, she's a healthcare professional, but she worked like on the office side of things. And of course, me, I'm the clinical, healthcare person in my family, because I'm a respiratory therapist. So both of us, knew exactly what was going on. But being a healthcare worker and having something like that happen, it's hard, because I'm trained to care people and help people, but in a situation like that, it's like there's nothing you can do to help. And so both of us knew she was going to die, and we couldn't stop it, and it was hard. And so 3 years before she passed, our father died of cancer. And grief and diabetes, it does not mix well. And so about maybe 2.5 years ago, I was stuck in grief. I was stuck in grief, especially after my sister died. My parents were married 41 years until death did them part. And so, dealing with my father's death in 2017, it was hard. And then just 3 years later, like right when I was getting ready, I was to the point in my life to where I felt like I could cope, with my father passing. I was finally, you'll never be okay, but, you get to a point where the way you deal with it becomes easier. I had gotten to that point, then boom, my sister passed. And so she lived in Birmingham also. So, we were here in Birmingham together for 17 years. So that was a hard time. But about a year and a half ago, I kind of started to, do a lot better with my grief. And, I went to therapy, and
you began your journey in healing.
Mm-hmm. And so it just woke me up. I was like, okay, I want to leave my mark. I want to leave my mark. So that's what made me realize, I want to start a nonprofit. And I chose to do the nonprofit because about 2 or 3 years after I graduated from respiratory school, I was like, dang, I should have went to school to become a nurse so I could become a diabetes educator. But going back to school, being a single mother, I couldn't do that. So I was like, okay, now my thought process is, instead of going back to school to become a nurse and then become a diabetes educator, I'm like, I can just start a nonprofit and I can help people almost in the same capacity.
Where you can become that actual public health advocate, where you don't need all the certification and degrees. You're just actually walking in your purpose, doing the things that you truly want to do to help benefit the community at need. And you're going to have people coming to you that are going to be like, Veronica's that go-to person. I know that. I feel that, because I know in my community, which has expanded now even globally, I'm that person. Like, people.
You definitely that person.
People come to me. I love community. I love our people, like in general, serious. Veronica, I haven't even given an introduction of you, but you gave you just came through and was like, I got to let this out. And I appreciate that, because it just showed, your truths matter. Like, truly, your truths matter. I have the honor of speaking with the lovely Veronica. I don't know if you want me to call you Ronnie.
Well, I have, I got a few nicknames. Most my family, they call me Ronnie.
Okay.
One of my best friends, she called me Veron, but it's whatever you want to call me. I really have no
Look,
preference.
I'm going to look, respect your sisters, your father, Veronica. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I think I first met you maybe about a year ago. Look, now it was more than a year. It's been almost 2 years, about a year and a half ago.
Yeah. Yes.
So it was my second installment of the Diabetes Looks Like Who. So that was Diabetes Look Like Who 2022 Pass the Torch. Was it that one or was it the first one?
No, it was 2022.
Okay. So it was the Pass the Torch one. Mm-hmm. And I reached out to you and you were like, your head was all in. You were like, yes, I'm ready to do this. Mm-hmm. I got this message that needs to be delivered. I'm trying to start this nonprofit. Can you share with me anything that can get you going? And I mean, this is what I always tell people. Just watch me. Because I will not hide anything from my people. My growth starts organically just with conversations and community, just building off of that. And I know that you've gotten that ball rolling and running. Like, even if everyone doesn't show up at the table, you still prepared the supper. You still prepared that meal that our grandparents prepared, that welcomes community in. So, and you're going to continue to do that, continue to build on that. And if at any given time you need someone to reach out to spread it to the community, just let me know. Because like I just told you, I know multiple people in the Alabama area with type 1 diabetes, especially on a social media platform.
And I have so many ideas and stuff that I want to do. But it's all going to come together. But I tried to start off having the adult type 1 diabetes support group meeting, and I had got some pretty good feedback. But the same day, 95% of people canceled. But I wasn't discouraged or anything. I know that life happens, and so now it's just back to the drawing board. I'm just trying to figure out okay, what's a better way to connect the people here, because just being out, I told you, people will, just because I'm wearing this, people will come up to me and be like, hey, I'm going through the same thing, and they'll reach out to me, we'll talk. But I'm just trying to find a better way to connect everybody, because I want to do more than just meet up and talk about it. I want us to do interactive stuff.
Right. You're trying to build a family, a culture, where it's not just like, okay, we popping up on every quarterly, every 3 months or whatever. I understand that. I understand it does take a lot to do it, but it starts small. Even if it's,
you have to just start. That's what my mentor told me. He said,
if you're going to do it.
He said, don't wait until you feel like everything's perfect. He said, just start, just jump in, just get your name out there. And so I have a few things that I'm doing that's, going to get my name out there a little bit.
Yeah. We can never predict, the different things that may occur, that may alter who shows up or who doesn't show up. I mean, we only can show up as ourselves, as these individuals. And we always want to keep those doors open for our community to gather with us and just keep on doing that. People are going to start seeing it. People are going to start feeding off of it. I don't know about in the near future because of that. You keep pointing at your CGM. Like, I show this CGM. I got my hoodie on right now, but I show the CGM and everyone sees it and they tap me or whatever. That had me thinking about Dexcom doing a rollout of the new Stevio, or what is it, Stilo CGM, which actually looks like the G7. And how confusing is that going to be for us? I've come to grips with it. Okay, everyone doesn't have access to CGMs. I know that.
Mhm.
I know that there are going to be people with this CGM. There's even going to be more people who are non-diabetic, non-insulin dependent with this CGM than there are that can't access it.
Mhm.
And it made me think about how are we going to deviate from being out there in the public, because I love seeing my people and being
Yeah.
able to spot them and embrace with them. But
Yes.
come this summer, they're expecting that Stilo to be on the market come like June.
Mhm.
How are we going to be able to identify our people?
Yeah, because it's like, you're gonna be out and see somebody with a Dexcom, be like, oh, they're gonna be like, oh no, I'm not type 1 diabetic. You're gonna be like,
Right.
okay.
It's like, do we only now look for the children? Like, because like children aren't, I mean, children aren't wearing it just for activity. They're wearing it for a need. And I'm guessing like, I'm sure I won't go to like a concert or a club or a pool and see adults with it on that aren't diabetic, because they like hiding it.
Yeah. The only way you're going to know for sure when you come across, a type 1 diabetic, that has a, CGM is if they have an insulin pump with it. Okay, but okay, cool. You type 1 diabetic. But I don't know how I feel about that. I am all about, people, being their healthiest self, but, not at the expense of, because honestly, for me, I do kind of feel like it's kind of a slap in the face for people who are, non-insulin dependent to be wearing CGMs when, you got people who are, type 1 diabetic or insulin dependent who really who needs the CGM, but, can't really afford it. And so that's one of the things I've ran into quite a few diabetics who don't have insurance or who are between insurance here. And so I have a stockpile of stuff. I always say I'm my doctor's favorite. I love my doctor. I get on his nerves, but I love him. But oh my God, he's a wonderful man. He the way he writes my prescription, I really don't have to get my insulin prescription filled but once or twice a year. But of course, I get it filled every 3 months just to have, a lot of extra insulin on hand and extra, supplies, because, people come to me, 2 or 3 times a month. I give away insulin. I give away other diabetic supplies. I don't have that many transmitters, but I do keep, a few extra sensors on hand. So, I just feel like all type 1 diabetics should have what they need to properly take care of themselves.
Right. You're creating that hub, that access hub. I know what that is. So yeah, I've been doing that for a number of years now. It started off locally, but now it's like everywhere. Like I'm even sending supplies to places like Uganda where they don't even have access to CGMs.
And I ain't gonna lie, I'm ready for the mission trip. When you gonna get it together?
So someone actually did come to me last week about a mission trip to Africa for, I believe, next year in August. So when more detail comes about, I'll share it with community.
Because I don't travel often. I mostly travel in the summer because of my daughter. That's really the only time I can really travel and go out the country. But I went to Dominican Republic and a few years ago, and that would be another place. Because we stayed at a house and we had a butler, we had a chef, but I did talk to them about how is it, well, I asked if they knew any diabetics that live down there. They're like, yeah. And they said, there's a big population down there who are diabetics. And, I asked them about, about if they had like most of the stuff that they needed to take care of themselves, and they were like, no. And that just got me thinking, like, oh my goodness, like, how can I help these people down there? Because it just breaks my heart, kind of almost makes me feel guilty that, I know that, unless I lose my job or something, I don't ever have to worry about my supplies because I have everything I need. But even here in the States, all insurance ain't the same, and which is something that sucks. But like me, for instance, because even at my job, we offer 3 types of insurances. 2 of the insurances are more or less designed, they're like hospital insurances because I work at a university hospital. So 2 of the insurances are designed to where, you pretty much only see the doctors that are connected with the hospital, which for me is okay because my endocrinologist, he is like, he's well known because he's really into research, and he's always been like that. So I was blessed and lucky to get in with him. And I've participated in a lot of his studies, and we have a Blue Cross Blue Shield option. And so me and some of my coworkers, I have 3 coworkers I work with who are also type 1 diabetics. So we were comparing the insurances, and the co-pays are different. And I don't know if it's like this for you guys, but like, so my sensors for my Dexcom, I get them free. I get all my stuff free. I get my pump supplies free. I get my sensors and my transmitters and my receivers. I get them for free. But like the people on Blue Cross Blue Shield, they have to pay for their 3-month supplies, they pay like $105 copay. And I'm like, I just don't get it. It's
and
crazy.
that's what a lot of people that I know have to pay, that $105 copay here.
And
I mean, it's better than the alternative. So the people I know who pay that $105 copay, they don't have to actually, so they pay that for a 90-day supply, but they don't have to pay out of pocket for anything else, like for the sensors and stuff. The copay covers everything.
Now, I got back in February, I got a reality check about how much this stuff really cost without insurance. And oh my God, it broke my heart. I went home because like where I'm originally from in Birmingham is about an hour and a half away. So I went home for the weekend for my niece's birthday, and I didn't even realize that, being a bad diabetic, not packing like I should, I didn't realize that my sensor was going to expire. And so I didn't have an extra sensor with me. And I went to the pharmacy because I'm thinking, okay, because I remember back in the day when I used to get pens, sometimes I would have the pharmacy break down the box and they would just let me purchase 1 pen. So I thought it would be the same thing for the Dexcom. Because I was like, okay, well, I can just buy 1 out of pocket because it wasn't time for me to renew my prescription. And so when they told me how much a box of 3 costs without insurance, I'm like, almost $500. I was like, wow. I said, okay.
And that's on the cheaper end. That $500 is on the cheaper end.
And that was at CVS, because that's where I get my my sensors from. Well, I'm like, well, I'm definitely not finna give y'all $500. I'm like, can I just buy 1? And they told me no. They said they can't break it down. You have to buy a box of 3. And I'm like, well, guess I'll buy me one of these $20 meters and just check my blood sugar for a day and a half. But I was just like, my goodness. Like, I mean, I know a lot of people don't even have $500 in their savings account.
Right.
And they're just, I mean, it makes you mad, because it's like we have to pay so much for something that we don't have any control of, And I tell people all the time, like, I didn't pick and choose to be a type 1 diabetic.
Right. The access to supplies, to insulin, all of those things are not in our own, like in our own hand. Like it's not on us. The pharmaceutical companies control all of that. other people with different chronic health conditions, they have government funding and things for them to live. For people such as us with type 1 diabetes, they don't have that for us. It should be communicated widely, globally,
Mm-hmm.
that without these things we cannot live.
Mm-hmm.
Do they want to risk the lives of however many million people globally if there is a thing such as right now a shortage of insulin? People who are newly diagnosed within the last 5 years, I'm pretty sure I've used more test strips in a month than they have used in those 5 years, because
Mm-hmm.
newer diagnosed people are taught about CGMs
Yeah.
early on.
They don't, they don't have to, really do the finger sticks like we did. What year were you diagnosed?
2003.
Okay. Oh, so you graduated high school. I was diagnosed November 27th, 1996.
I graduated high school before you.
Mm. I was 11 when I was diagnosed. So does it run in your family?
So I have a first cousin who's
Mm-hmm.
type 1 diabetic, and she has all of the complications you can list. She's only 28 years old.
Jesus.
From retinopathy in both eyes, neuropathy in her hands and her feet, her legs. What else? Gastroparesis, chronic kidney disease on dialysis. Like, she has everything. And it's not due to her own, um, as we could say, like being a good or bad diabetic. Is mainly due to the missed education. She was diagnosed at 12 years old. She had to take on all of this during this transition of adolescence years. And
Yeah,
she's
I was 11.
right.
I can relate.
Had to
I can relate.
not only were you going through the hormonal and fluctuations that are becoming a young lady, a woman, but you
Mm-hmm.
also are taking on this whole new life and responsibility of
Yeah.
actually truly caring for yourself. Like, it's improbable and impossible that someone expects someone of your age, 11, 12 years old, to take on this full responsibility of managing a life or death situation, because
Mm-hmm.
they wouldn't expect you at 11 or 12 to be able to handle a newborn child. They wouldn't expect you to be able to handle an elder who is in their last days. They wouldn't expect you to be able to basically work in a hospital as a clinician or anything, but they're expecting you to pick up what is diabetes. And I've had this conversation even with my parents, because I've heard so many people talk about, like, oh, she's had these complications or whatnot because of not managing correctly or whatever over the years. I'm like, what did you expect a 12-year-old to do other than live?
Mm-hmm.
So other than her, my grandmother was actually diagnosed the year before she passed in 2003. She passed September 12th, 2003. 2001, winter 2001, she was diagnosed with brain cancer, which became terminal. And through her, when she was going through her treatments, she actually became type 1 diabetic. Um, and that I didn't put that together until I found out last year, or November 2022, after going through ancestry.com. Me and my brother found out that her mother, my great grandmother Viola, who even my mom and her sisters never met, because she passed when my grandmother was 19 years old in 1954, that on her death certificate it reads death due to acidosis.
Mm-hmm.
So it says that she fell ill January 19th, 1954, and passed February 2nd, 1954, due to acidosis.
Wow.
Yeah, so That's the family. Like we linked it all together, and they were like, she became frail, thin. They thought that she was having stomach issues and whatnot, but yeah.
And it definitely runs in my family. My dad has 13 brothers and sisters, and three of them are type 1 diabetics. And
Three.
it's weird because everybody in my family who's a type 1 diabetic, we were all diagnosed around the same point in life, which is 11. So I have three uncles with type 1. One of them passed away, and just me growing up, seeing how his lifestyle was, he didn't take care of himself. He drunk a lot, he smoked, he just didn't care. And he had a stroke, and the last 12 years of his life he spent in a wheelchair. And so I think, especially as I got older, like I didn't start drinking until like I'm 38. I didn't start drinking until I was like 28, 29, because I'm like, I ain't finna, I don't want to end up like Uncle George. And so I have three uncles who are type 1. I have two first cousins who are type 1, and I have a second cousin who's type 1. And like I said, all of us, except one of my uncles, he was diagnosed at about 19, but everybody else was diagnosed around the age of 11. Like me, I was 11 years old and 5 months. My second cousin, she was 11 years old and 6 months. And one of my first cousins, she was diagnosed a month before her 12th birthday. And then my other cousin, she, I think she had just turned 11. And then like, cause I asked my dad about my other, when he was alive, I asked him about my other uncles. He said they were kids. So he didn't give me a specific age, but, he said they were kids, and my uncle, let me see, one of my uncles, he is now, I think Uncle Billy is about 64. He's a type 1 diabetic. And my other uncle, he is maybe 75. But, I was the first one in the family to get a pump. I got my first pump back in 2001. And, they did the pumps for a while, but they eventually went back to the shots. But, but even though I got so many people in my family that are type 1, when I was a teenager, I still feel like I really couldn't, reach out to.
Having so many people in your family that have had or do have type 1 diabetes, does that change how your family, do you think that alters how your family sees type 1 diabetes? Because so many people have it, has it become more of a natural course? Like if someone were to get, let's say, any other known chronic health condition, let's say someone has rheumatoid arthritis and people don't talk about it, like, oh, that's their arthritis, they handle that. Someone has some kind of IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, and they're like, oh, they have that, that's their thing.
Well, okay. So one thing about, and I know it's not just my family, I feel like this is a stigma in a lot of Black families, is that we do not discuss our health issues with each other. And I hate that. I hate that.
Break the cycle. Break it.
Because not only does type 1 run in my family, cancer really runs in my family. And, and I just hate when I find out, a year or 2 or 3 years after the fact that, somebody has cancer. I'm like, why are we so hush-hush about it? Exactly. I mean, because I feel like, you can help, especially your family out by like, hey, just be transparent. Hey, right, I've been diagnosed with this. And, if you see a trend in the family, that would be like, okay, y'all need to make sure y'all get these screenings probably at an earlier age, because, it runs in the family. And I've always hated that, how families are so hush-hush about their medical history.
Disconnected when it comes to health. But when it comes to, they'll I actually said this to someone recently. When it comes to someone not being able to afford something as far as
Mhm.
expense or even needing help with a bill or whatnot, they'll be quick to ask for monies regarding those types of things.
Mhm.
But something that even matters a lot more is your health. You can't do anything without being physically and mentally well and prepared.
Mhm.
So, when you consider things in your family, such as type 1 diabetes and the multiple different cancers that do exist within your family, if it's shared with everyone else, like you said, you can not only get the screenings, but you can help lessen that burden that is on that family member that's living with it.
Mhm.
Someone should be helping lessen your burden, which is type 1 diabetes. You didn't start this. You
Right.
didn't like it's not all on you. It shouldn't be all on you. It shouldn't be. It
And
shouldn't be.
that's one reason why I feel like it's just so important to have these support groups in place. Because I feel like sometimes as diabetics, we might be stressed out or going through a depression about diabetes and don't even realize it because we just so used to just pushing it down, pushing it down, pushing it down. But because even some of my friends at work, it's just like they always stressed about something. I mean, even me, and I'm just like, I ain't gonna say diabetes is the main reason, but when you
It
really go
is.
back and think about it, the
Uh-huh.
diabetes, it's a lot of stuff boils back down to diabetes.
Look,
But sometimes we don't even realize we just used to rolling with the punches and just going.
there's not a second of my life that diabetes isn't somewhere lurking in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Even right now, as we're having these conversations, it is affecting my diabetes, or my diabetes is affecting it.
Because I'm
You
telling you,
know,
because I keep checking my phone. Okay, let me see.
I mean,
Okay,
I haven't checked my numbers at all. I'm pretty sure they're okay. But
I went to the fair last night and
I know. Um, you grew up in Birmingham, Alabama, right?
I grew up in Tanner, Alabama. I moved
Tanner.
to I moved to Birmingham a week after I graduated high school. Oh, I was ready to leave the country. So let me
Were
see
you
what
like,
these
because you said
city lights talking about.
a week
Hmm?
after you graduated high school? Oh,
Hmm.
you had to go.
Hmm.
You were waiting your whole life.
Well, so my sister, she graduated high school 2 years before me, and so she came to Birmingham to go to college, the University of Alabama at Birmingham, and she used to come home talking about how much fun she was having in Birmingham, and I was like, Birmingham it is. But
Finally.
but because I ain't even gonna lie, my teenage years were rough. I always been a little firecracker, but my teenage years and diabetes didn't mix. No, I I was in the hospital a lot because I didn't care. I didn't take care of myself. My pediatric endocrinologist, she told me I would be dead by 25.
Oh, she gave you that scare tactic of death.
She But honestly, if I would have continued doing the same things that I was doing when I was a teenager, um,
You may have.
she was absolutely right. And so it was a battle because my mom, she wasn't gonna let me go off, and you know she was like, "You're not finna leave, and you be down there sick." And the last time I was hospitalized for diabetes, I was 17. That's the last time because I knew that once I left, I knew where I would be if I didn't take care of myself, and that was back at home, and I didn't want to be at home.
Right. So we did speak about, like, I mean, being a 11-year-old and then becoming I mean, you were a teenager, and you said, like,
Mhm.
basically your teenage years were the worst.
Mhm.
Teenage years for anyone is like that struggle with everything in life.
Mhm.
So just the adjustment of becoming a growing teenager, almost into adulthood, all of the obstacles that do exist, And then you have on an added responsibility of keeping yourself alive.
Yes.
That's why upon diagnosis, there has to be, and I'm fighting for it, it has to be some therapeutic measures put in place, federal legislation that guarantees some type of ordinance for people who are diagnosed with a chronic health condition, not only get the physical care they need, but to the mental and emotional support and guidance and resources and education, because those therapeutic measures are needed. Even if we don't take them as we would as we are adults when we were younger, at 11, 12 years old, 15, 16 years old, myself, young 20, I didn't care what the doctors told me. Like, I really did not care because I was young and I just wanted to live, not in a sense of life or death live, but in the sense of just, I want to just be young. I want to be
And
able
you want to fit in with everybody else.
I want to be able to grow and learn and make mistakes, and but to know that I have a condition or illness such as type 1 diabetes, and I didn't know the complications that could arise from it. I mean, we've been threatened with them, but we're young. We know that at that young age, our brains aren't fully developed in a sense of where we can wholeheartedly place value to the things that are needed so that we can continue that growth into adulthood.
Yeah, and then at 20, you're not thinking about life as a diabetic at 48, or life as a diabetic at 51. Like that's something that you don't think about. And and me, I've had it 27 and a half years. It'll be 28 years in November. But I'm very open and transparent about the things that I go through. I have mild complications, and you always hear people call it the silent killer. it is. That is not a lie. It's definitely the silent killer, because it's so scary and it's so detrimental, because you cannot feel the damage that you are doing to yourself. You can't feel it. You cannot. And that is so scary. It's so scary. You might notice a few things, but when you go to the doctor and they tell you you got this going on, you be like, shoot,
Right. But at the same time, when you're young and you have like certain pains arise, and like, even if like you're like, oh, I can't focus, like something's in my eyes, you don't think about retinopathy. You don't think the pains that you're feeling could be a form of neuropathy or some type of nerve damage. We don't, and no one is telling us that could be, until we get to that hospital, or we get to that a point where almost to a point of no return.
Oh, definitely. I mean, because just like my doctor told me, the damage is not irreversible. It can be slowed down, but you can't reverse it. And just like like you said, some of the things you that are happening, but you don't really link it to a complication. Just like you might be like, shoot, I ain't peed in a long time. That means my blood sugar must be good. Nah, baby, it's your kidneys. It's your kidney function.
Kidneys. The amount of diabetics that I know personally that are always like, I can't even lift my arms up. My shoulders are always hurting. I think I have torn rotator cuffs. Nah, you have frozen shoulder, calcific tendonitis. That's what that is.
Let me tell you. So I I'm a respiratory therapist, and I work in the neuro intensive care unit. So for me, that means I have to transport a lot of patients on ventilators every day I'm at work. And so, I ain't saying I'm a firecracker, but when these nurses, because now we have beds that drive, that have a motor.
Mhm.
And sometimes they be getting a little wild, and I tell them, like, look, my vent ain't got no motor, so y'all need to slow down, around these little turns, because like they'll turn, like I have to drag like that. And so I thought, because the way they were driving was
Right.
messing with my shoulders. But, I think I asked you about this. I think you were the one who told me about it, because I didn't even know that was a thing. I looked into it and I'm like, wait a minute. But, I had to get a steroid shot in my shoulder. And so, I think it was a combination of, dragging those vents plus that. But the day I had to get a steroid shot in my shoulder, because I know what steroid shots do to me, because I have asthma as well. And sometimes a steroid shot is the only thing that can alleviate my asthma. Ooh, good for my asthma, bad for my diabetes.
Right. It makes you more insulin resistant.
Oh my God. Like, I don't understand. Like, how can I take this much insulin and for 2-3 days my blood sugar still won't come under 300?
Right.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, it's literally another hormone being added into your body.
Mhm.
So we have to expect, and that's the education that should be on a one pager in the medical facilities that are given to people, even quarterly during our health screenings, endocrinologist visits. They should hand us that one pager every single time. Look for these signs.
So let me ask you a question. Have you been diagnosed with another autoimmune disease? Because 1 in 4 diabetics, 1 in 4 type 1 diabetics will get another autoimmune disease. Have you been diagnosed with another one?
So I do have hypothyroidism. I've been evaluated for RA. I don't have any of the markers, but considering my family history of it, it's more than likely RA. I do have fibromyalgia. I'm trying to remember. Look, it's a whole list of things. As far as autoimmune, it would just be like the hypothyroidism, fibromyalgia.
I think that hypothyroidism is the most, other autoimmune disease that type 1 diabetics get.
Between that and celiac.
Celiac, yes. When were you diagnosed with your hypothyroidism?
Formally diagnosed 2021.
Okay.
I probably lived with it for years.
That was how long after your initial diagnosis for
literally 18 years.
Okay. So I was diagnosed, like I said, November 27th, 1996. And I don't really remember my diagnosis for hypothyroidism, but mine got so bad it threw me in the hospital. Because at first, were you overactive at first and then became hypo? Because for me, my thyroid was overactive, and I can't remember if it was, they said Graves' disease or Hashimoto's disease, but so I was 11 when I was diagnosed. So about 4 years after that.
Graves is more hyper. Hashimoto's is hypo.
Okay. So I was hyper. It was Graves' disease.
But I've known people with both of them.
So what happened to me was, I was having I was 15. I was like a little crackhead. I mean, I would not sleep. I've always been kind of small, but of course, when I became diabetic, like my mom, she, I only had, when I was first diagnosed with diabetes, I only suffered, with the symptoms for maybe like a week and a half. And then she said she kind of knew what it was. But, I was peeing, had a full bladder every 15 minutes. I've always been very active, and just me being lethargic. She said, and then like in a week, I had lost like 7-8 pounds in a week. And, somebody who's already about 90 pounds, So I was diagnosed pretty quick. Thank God, they didn't let it go long, and I didn't go into a coma or anything. But I did spend 4 days in the hospital. But 4 years after that, that's when I was diagnosed with the Graves' disease. So I had to take a radioactive iodine pill, and then it killed my thyroid. And so now I'm hypo.
I don't know if you've listened to any of the episodes yet, but Charlita, she actually had to take that same pill. She mentioned, she was like, she said she felt like she was an alien. She was like, the people who bought it to her were in hazmat suits.
Oh yeah, and brought to it in a little silver little thing, and they had to screw it off. And I'm like,
yeah.
And then I took it, and then they scanned something.
Many of us have similar stories.
Yeah, and for some reason, my doctor, he does not understand why I require a high dose, because he told me at first that they used to kind of base your dosage kind of like off of your size, but I take 200 micrograms, and sometimes I go between 200 micrograms and 250 micrograms.
So you still take it?
If I take it every day, that's another story for another day. Because
I know she doesn't take it anymore. She stopped many years ago.
Why did she stop? Just
her Graves actually became hypo, so she's not hyper anymore.
Well, I'm hypo, so like ever since I took the radioactive iodine pill, I have to take censored, because
right. I take censored also. But you still,
and so
you still take the radioactive iodine pill. That's what I was talking about. Like,
no,
you still take that?
That was a
one-time thing, right?
Yeah, it was a one-time thing, and so ever since, whenever I took the radioactive iodine pill, it killed my thyroid, and so since 15, which is how many years ago was it?
23.
So yeah, for 23 years I've been taking censored, and for the first 2 years trying to get the correct dosage adjusted. Yeah, and then it's like these other autoimmune diseases on top of diabetes, like it'd be a lot. Because it's like, if I mess up and don't take my thyroid medicine right, I'd be tired, on top of being tired from, kind of swinging sometimes, having lows, and it'd be a lot.
Now, how high are your TSH levels? Are they like, have you gotten them below 2? Okay, that's
and what's crazy
that's ideal. And anyone who has an autoimmune disease, anything above 2 should be treated with a synthetic thyroid medication such as censored.
Like I go to the doctor tomorrow, and I know my numbers are going to be off, because for me, because my life just be, especially like with me working night shift, and sometimes it's still, after having it for all these years, it's still hard to, get a schedule going with my censored, because, you're supposed to take it on an empty stomach.
Right.
And so, the way my schedule is, I do 6 12-hour shifts in a row, and then I'm off for 8 days. Like, this is, I go back to work Thursday. But I'm good when I'm off. But, something that can throw me off is, in my mind, it's like you have to take it on an empty stomach. So a lot of times when I wake up in the morning, my blood sugar low. So guess what I got to do? I got to eat something. I got to drink something. So then if you eat or drink, then you're supposed to wait 2 hours before you take your medicine, your censored. And what am I doing 2 hours later? I'm eating. So I get thrown off a lot with that.
Yeah, I take mine before I go to bed. When I do take
it.
When I do take it. Because having to manage so much stuff, like so many things, I forget sometimes.
Yeah. Like I ain't never claimed to be the perfect diabetic, or the perfect person who always take my medicine and my pills on time. But I ain't gonna lie, Now, when I know when I be like, okay, my I need to take my censored because my hair it'll start falling out. Boy, I be so ashy. I can put lotion on 2 times a day and still be ashy. And
And on top of having to manage all of those things, you have something that you have to manage even before you even think about diabetes, before you think about hypothyroidism, before you think about CKD and all of those things. You got to manage your child.
yeah,
People
yeah.
people who live with chronic health conditions such as type 1 diabetes, especially in this space, many of them we see and we know they talk about like how much of a burden it is. It's a great burden.
Mhm.
I always say in my head, I'm like, it's it's just you right now.
Mhm. So for me, my big thing is like, especially now, I just feel like a lot of it has to do with your mindset. And right now, I've been in a space to where I tell myself instead of coping with this, let me embrace it. And ever since I've kind of adopted that mindset, I've actually done a lot better with my diabetes. I've done a lot better because I feel like coping with it is just doing what you gotta do to get by. But I feel like when you embrace it, it's a different level of care. When you embrace it, it's like, okay, I am this. This is me. I have to take care of this if I'm going to take care of me. And I ain't gonna lie, it's might be a little cliche. It's definitely easier said than done because sometimes I just gotta get in the mirror and talk to myself. I ain't gonna lie, because sometimes I'll be like, you know what, I can do what I want to do, and I don't care. I don't care.
We're talking about all of our troops. Sometimes it does take for us to shed a tear for the life that we live. Seriously, when you
like
when you're
me, go ahead. I'm sorry.
when you're going through a hypoglycemic episode and you know that you can't fully function and control it, sometimes it's a traumatic experience. It is, and sometimes it takes for you like to just sit there and let those tears run down.
Yeah,
it's a full emotional ordeal.
Oh yeah, and honestly, I used to always think because it never happened. Like you sometimes you tend not to believe stuff because it never happened to you. Like I remember when I used to hear about people having these severe lows where they didn't know what they were doing. I was like, ain't no way until it happened to me. The first time it happened to me, I don't know how I ended up at the store, but like when I kind of came back to, I'm like, how in the world are me and Joy at the store? That's my daughter's name, Joy. I want to name her Veronica Jr., but I knew that wasn't appropriate. My name's Veronica Joy, and so I named her first name's Joy. But she was about 3 or 4, and I was just like, I just was like that was the first time it scared the life out of me because I'm like, I could have wrecked, I could have killed myself, I could have killed somebody else, I could have killed my child. And then so I had for about a year and a half, I had like 5 episodes like that to where it's like, you know how when your blood sugar dropping, but you can let it go about 5 more minutes before you got to get something, before you really really got to get something. But mine just was to the point it would drop and it would just plummet. And it was around Christmas time about 7-8 years ago. I was at Target. I had left my daughter at the babysitter so I could shop for it before I went to work. I was in Target, I'm looking at the time. I'm like, okay, I got a little time to shop, and then I had to go to work. So I knew my blood sugar was dropping, and I'm like, okay. As I was checking out, I grabbed a Coke and I grabbed some chips. So I got in my car, and what I thought was a dream, it was happening in real life. I thought I was sleeping. I thought I was dreaming.
You were having a lucid dream.
Yeah, but I was driving. Cars were swerving. Cars were, honking at me, and like I said, the whole time I thought I was dreaming. And the next thing I knew, I was parked. I didn't even know where I was parked at. And I was in my car, I saw a bag of open chips. I saw the Coke that I had already drunk. I guess before I started driving, I had started drinking and eating. But that scared the mess out of me, and I had made it to work. And they ended up taking me to the emergency room because they said I was standing in front of the time clock like
you were like a zombie. You couldn't articulate any words. We've all been through that.
And then my friend said I started laughing hysterically. And then I went from laughing hysterically to just crying crying tears. And then she said I started just saying some crazy stuff. She said,
go ahead and tell us.
I said, can I cuss? Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. I mean, everything will be edited.
Okay, so like I said, I was at work, and everybody was out there checking on me, my supervisor, and they said, I said, if I see Stephanie, I will slap the shit out her. That's my supervisor. And I'm like, because at work, I ain't no thug at work. And they was like, man, if I see Stephanie, I'm gonna slap the shit out her. And Stephanie loves me. But that was one episode at work. And then another one, I was on a transport with a ventilator patient. We had just got the patient back to the room. They knew something was wrong. They said I was sweating like crazy. Now I had to go back and apologize to everybody after this. They said I started walking up the halls at work talking about.
I'm preparing for this. I'm preparing. I'm going to give you a little bit of time to get the giggles out because I know it's going to be big.
So, of course I'm sweating. Like my top was a different color than my bottom because it's full of sweat. They said I was walking up the hall talking about my coochie wet. And I was like, when they told me, I was like, oh my God. But they said I kept walking around in circles talking about my coochie wet. I was like, oh my God. And then my friend said when she tried to grab me and take me, to where we sit, she said she got me over there and she said I hugged her and then I tried to bite her titty. She said I kept trying to bite her titty. And I'm like, I said, number one, why didn't nobody record this? I said, but this was this was back in maybe 2016. I'm like, somebody should have recorded me. We could have went viral off of this. But number two, I was just like, oh my God, here I am, a respected professional at my job, going down the house talking about my coochie wet and trying to bite people's titties.
Wow. Okay, let me see how I'm going to break this down. I had to put myself on mute. I was over here screaming. like really, I'm in tears, Veronica. I've had many conversations. That's the first. I had a conversation where someone tripped over a curb and was seizing and people were laughing at her, thinking she was drunk and high and stuff. This right here is like the nail on the coffin, like really.
And I'm gonna tell you why I dropped that day when I was.
First of all, how's Stephanie doing today?
Stephanie still loves me.
Stephanie loves you.
She loves me.
She don't fear you when that blood sugar drop a little low. Like Veronica looking for her, she gonna slap.
But you know what? One wonderful thing about working in a hospital is that, boom, everybody know what to do. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows what to do. And I've never I've never been shy about my diabetes. Everybody I work with, they know I'm a diabetic. Let me tell you what I've done at work. So because I know I work with about 3 or 4 other type 1 diabetics, we all on Humalog, we all got the Dexcom, we all, have the same pump.
So now we know why there's a shortage. Let me write that down. Shortage because of your crew.
So, what I have created at work, I keep a stockpile at work because one of my homegirls, she's a nurse practitioner, she's a type 1 diabetic. I get a call about once a week. Hey, Veronica, you got some. Everybody knows that I have extra stuff. I keep 3 extra bottles of insulin in our refrigerator. I keep a box of pump supplies for the tandem. And I also have about, an extra 2 or 3 sensors. And so everything people use, like the supplies, they always know. They be like, hey, I left it at home and I bring it back. They do. And I keep glucose tablets. I keep those little packs of the powder, and I keep those shots. Like everybody know I got that stuff because, let me tell you, we had a doctor up there and she was putting in an art line, and I heard a Dexcom go off. I'm like, wait a minute, this ain't me. I went to the room where that doctor was, and I'm like, you okay? And she looking at me like, what you talking about? I showed her my Dexcom. I'm like, you need me to get you something? So while she was doing her little procedure, I had got, a pack of the little powdering. I said, I said, your blood sugar low when you doing like an invasive procedure. Like, that ain't cool.
Right.
And I'm like, you ain't finna be out here. Cause that wasn't too long after my episode. So I'm like, nah, dog. I said, let me get you something. And then she came and she was like, because she's a doctor and, she's not where she wants to be. She's like still a resident. She kind of hides her diabetes a little bit. And I'm like, you can't do that. I'm like, you in here trying to help people, but you gonna hurt somebody, especially doing a procedure like that.
Next thing you know, she'll be trying to bite somebody's titty.
Right, like, baby, you ain't gonna get no medical license.
So I'm still stuck on this, but you did mention having those dreams. So I call them lucid dreams, but they're called like nocturnal dreams. Like when you're facing hypoglycemic episodes, usually it's like severe ones below maybe like 55 milligrams per deciliter. But those episodes or like those dreams or at times are like the realest dreams.
Yeah. And like when I tell you, I'm gonna have to get Toya. Like one day I'm gonna see when Toya off just so she can tell you how that went. Cause I was trying to bite her titty. That's my homegirl. we gonna have to get her.
Have you ever tried doing that outside of the job?
No.
Okay, that's all that matters.
Let me tell you, I ain't gonna lie. I can write a book because, I be telling people, don't let this degree fool you now. I mean, hey, I was in them streets now. Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, we all been there. Like we've all been there. And as a person living with diabetes, if you've been there, like I remember, I used to go up to Philly in a city in the clubs every weekend. You think I cared about diabetes? I didn't have no insulin on me, nothing. I'm in a club drinking cranberry juice and everything. Like, I was good. I truly did not know those, like, my early 20s, like how much diabetes was affecting me. I felt as though, okay, I gave my insulin in the morning, MDI. I gave my Lantus. or whatever I was using at the time.
I have never been offered the MDI. Never.
I did see you said that recently.
Like nobody has ever mentioned it to me.
I never was offered MDI. It was what I was given from the beginning.
I think my doctors, he just like, you know what you doing now, it worked for you. We ain't gonna switch it up.
By the time you were 12 years old, you were on a pump?
No.
So you started off MDI?
Well, just shot. Hold up.
That's MDI.
Okay, let me tell you now.
It could be pens, syringes, whatever. It's MDI, multiple daily injections.
Now. Hold on. Okay, I'm gonna share a story with you. So, I am a respiratory therapist. So when I hear MDI, I think about an asthma pump or the Advair inhaler.
Okay.
That's what we call an MDI, a metered dose inhaler.
It's multiple daily injections.
So at one point in time, I know that there was supposed to be an inhaled insulin.
There is.
So that's what I thought y'all was talking about when y'all said MDI.
No. So yeah, it's multiple daily injections.
Well, yeah, I was on multiple daily injections.
Okay,
yeah.
So you've been there. I love it.
Yeah, I'm an old school MDI chick, baby.
Mm-hmm. Look, I mean, I did MPH and regular. That's 70-30 mix.
Oh yeah. So I got my first pump in 2001. Right before my senior year. Well, no, going into my junior year. But and then that's the thing about going to college. So, I was pumped about getting my first pump. I'm like, I ain't got to take shots no more. It's like taking one shot every 3 days. I'm like, shoot, yeah. But when I got to college, I just wanted to blend in with everybody so bad. I didn't want everybody to know I had diabetes. I'm like, I'm Maria's little sister. I don't want to be known as, I'd rather be known as Maria's little sister versus, the diabetic. So, I did a lot of stupid stuff. I used to try to take my pump off and just try to take shots every hour. Ain't the same thing, but because I got so tired of people always asking me, because, back in, 2001, 2002, 2003, people did not see pumps like they see them today. So, of course, at that time, people was like, why you got a pager on? It ain't no pager. I'm like, and so I got so tired of people asking me, I went back to the injections.
I mean, but during that time, it was like, 2003, 2000. Yeah, that was young Jock, right? Beat me in the trap. It's going down.
And my white tee.
Yeah, you had your pager using a trap going until they saw you actually going down.
Right. And I'm like, and so people used to ask me, I'd be like, leave me alone. And so, so like I said, I transitioned back to the shot. So I actually did not get back on my pump until 2012. And I have not been off of it because, and honestly, for me, what made me start caring a lot more about my diabetes is when I had my daughter, because right then and there, it's like, it ain't about you no more. I have somebody to take care of now. And for her, it's not going to be fair for her to have to take care of her mama at a young age. So it's like, I'm like, baby, you got stuff to do. You got to be here. She was my reason why. And I tell people, caring for her, taking care of her, it made me fall in love with my diabetes. We kind of got a little love-hate relationship, but she was my saving grace because I knew I really had a reason that I had to be here. I have to be here for her. Yeah, and
completely changed the game.
Yeah, and then too, what gave me a reality check, like, hey, watch yourself, was when my sister died. Because when my sister died, her girls were 17 and 7. And it's like I got faced with the reality, like, you need to do what you have to do to take care of yourself, because, my mom, in a span of 7 years, has lost her husband and lost her children. And it's like, you know, I got to be here because, like, I can't put that on my mom or her losing, you know, another child.
Right. And you know, if your sister had the option of being able to take insulin and things like that so that she could still be here, she would do it in a heartbeat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's what made me just be like, you know what, you got to be here. And like, I already know diabetes ain't no game because, like I said, I have mild complications. I have mild gastroparesis. I have stage 1 chronic kidney disease. But I've been in stage 1 for years. Like, once I got that diagnosis, I was like, nah, like, okay, I know I can't play. Like, I know I can't play. And so,
okay, let me tell you one thing.
but when I was,
I can
remember,
get off track. So okay,
we gonna stick to the meat. Because when I tell you, I got stories for days.
There's no getting off the track when it comes to this conversation. It's organic. Like, we're just having a conversation. Like, I'm getting to know you, you're getting to know me. Just talking. I mean, I'm going to feed off your energy, you feed off mine, like vice versa. I haven't said it yet, but you remind me so much of my sister.
Really?
Yeah. Are you you're a Scorpio?
When I tell people what sign I am, they be like, "Oh, hell no!"
I don't even look. I don't even do the signs. Huh?
I'm a Gemini.
You're a Gemini?
I'm gonna tell you who my birthday twin is, and then there's some people be like, "Oh, hell no!" Donald Trump is my birthday twin.
Look, I don't even know when his birthday. When's his birthday?
June 14th.
Oh, June 14th. That's your guy.
And if you read up on Geminis, I am, and this is how I know I'm a true Gemini, because even before I knew about signs or anything, ever since I was a little girl, my mama always called me Dr. Jekyll, Miss Hyde. This was before being a diabetic, before diabetes, before anything. I was always Dr. Jekyll, Mrs. Hyde. And, you know, my mama, she still don't know about, all she knows that she's a Virgo, but she don't know about other signs. And I'm like, I think I've always been a true Gemini.
Look,
but
look,
like,
you said it seriously, then you laughed. Yep.
But I tell people like even back in the day when I was in college, like I was the one, you know, we go out, we go to the clubs. I'd be the one everybody thought was drunk. I'm sober. I'm standing on tables, you know, I'm buying bottles. I'm pouring everybody drinks. I'm sober, 100%
Oh, you
sober.
was riding a boat even before that.
Oh yeah, let me tell you. There might be another conversation for another day, but you know, oh yeah, I was because I ain't gonna lie, I've always just done what I wanted to do.
You were you.
But honestly, so when I was a teenager, I think what got me in trouble a lot with diabetes was that I just got to the point where I didn't care. And I felt like, you know, because it started about 14, 15, 16. Oh, I think they kept a room ready for me at the hospital because they knew I was coming. And this is something else that I've discussed with a few other female type 1 diabetics. But I just didn't care. And it was to the point where I felt like every aspect of my life was being controlled by somebody else, you know, what I eat, you know, everything. So I felt like I can control if I take my shots or if I don't take them. And I didn't take them. I did sometimes, but I'm gonna tell you what I used to do. This is what put me in the hospital 100% of the time. So I was a 3-sport athlete. I played basketball, I cheered, and I ran track. And so I've always been small, but you know, back when you in high school, you looking at how small you are, but most girls look at how much they weigh. And so I never understood, you know, I'm the same size or smaller than everybody else. Why do I weigh more? But, you know, at that age, I didn't realize it's because I had more muscle weight than everybody. We just looking at the numbers on the scale. So So, like I said, I was always weight conscious. And once I figured high blood sugar equals peeing
Loss of
equals
weight.
losing weight, let me tell you, I had a routine that I did this for a long time. Sometimes I would go to the hospital, sometimes I wouldn't. And so what I used to do, when I got done playing my, last basketball game or cheering, on a Friday. So after Friday, I wouldn't take no insulin for the rest of the night. I wouldn't take no insulin on Saturday. And so between high blood sugar on Friday, high blood sugar on Saturday, high blood sugar
You're able to
for
lose a good amount of weight.
about between 4 to 6 pounds in a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would do on Sunday, I would, start back taking my medicine. So, because I got to go to school the next day. Sometimes I could bring it all back, and I would be good before Monday.
You were taking
Sometimes
weekend breaks from diabetes.
Just to lose weight.
Now, that is governed a form of eating disorder such as diabulimia. And many young people go through that, male and female.
But of course, at the time, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know. I just knew that high blood sugar equals peeing equals, losing. I mean, who don't want to lose 5 pounds in a weekend?
It's very easy to put together. Like it's like not something that's scientific. It's like, okay, I mean, because we know upon our diagnosis, we were doing that, and that's how we lost a lot of weight. So that direct correlation is right there for us. And being young people, that's why upon that diagnosis, and especially in those early years, upon your diagnosis, there should be some measurable steps put in place where not only are doctors telling you the risk of complications, but the direct things, and actually being wary of you being a young teen, young adult, knowing that these things do exist with young people, even people without chronic health conditions. So now when someone receives or gets a chronic health condition such as type 1 diabetes, it should not be overlooked. It should be paid more attention to.
And, that's, you remember at the beginning, I told you I had a pediatric endocrinologist who told me I would be dead by 25 because she knew that's what I was doing. So that's why she didn't tell me that for no reason. I mean, A1Cs were 13, 14. And she was right. If I would have never cared and, if I would have never cared, I probably wouldn't be here. And so, but, I'm from a very, very, very small community. My high school, I graduated, it was 40 people in my graduating class. Almost everybody is related to everybody except us. I ain't gonna lie. The way I grew up, I'm trying to see. A lot of people did not like me growing up because of who my family is.
Because of your rich family name.
We have a name for ourselves because everybody knew my granddaddy was rich. And we weren't rich, but we had everything we needed. We didn't I didn't have to grow up struggling. I didn't, but because of a lot of stuff my granddaddy and his brothers did back in the day, a lot of people didn't like me because of my last name. I ain't gonna lie. I was the bad one in my family because I felt like I had to prove to everybody I'm not no bougie, uppity, goody Bridgeford,
This is reminding me of Queen Sugar.
A lot of people who know us, I've heard that. I've heard that a lot. And so like I said, I was kind of the black sheep. I still made A's in school, but I'm like, I ain't no goody Bridgeford. I'm like, I don't, because
You had to
It's
set yourself apart from them.
I did. And see, and what's crazy, like I'm one of the darker people in my family. Everybody in my family is like that color. But I mean, we black, but like I used to hear stories of my great aunties saying that they used to pass for white women back in the day to get more privilege, and they looked white. Like even my, let me see if I can find a picture. Even my granddad, he looked like a white man. But out of 14 children, there were only 3 brown ones, and my daddy was one of the brown ones. But most, like, everybody in my family looks mixed. Like I got uncles with, sandy red hair, blue eyes, green eyes. I got first cousins that, they look like they mixed. But yeah, it's crazy. But like I said, growing up, people's parents were like, no, you can't be friends with her because she a Bridgeport.
She's a Bridgeport.
And I'm like, I ain't like them. And to this day, I'm still the little firecracker of my family.
Look, I'm Ronnie, I'm V Ron, like I'm V, all of those things. Like I'm not your typical Bridgeport. Like
yeah. I was getting in trouble in school. I was fighting, but I'm still making straight A's. But yeah.
Right. Now, being diagnosed at that young age of 11 and going through adolescence and everything, going through middle school, did diabetes affect you when you were younger? Like upon, like, I'm not even speaking of directly to your diagnosis. I'm going to get into that. But like when you were like middle school years are harsh.
Now, what I had a problem with mostly was, so I have always, even almost 28 years later, I'm still very sensitive to insulin. I don't require that much. I used to be like, am I a diabetic for real? I'm diabetic. But even now, even with bolusin for meals, bolusin, when my blood sugar isn't, where it needs to be, I might average around between 25 to 30 units a day. And I've been doing that for years. Like, and even during my pregnancy, by the end of a type 1 diabetes pregnancy, their insulin requirements are supposed to double. Mm-hmm. Mine cut in half, which was, they like, my doctor was like, he said that was so odd because I was on shots. I was taking 26 units of Lantus, when I was when I first became pregnant. And by the end of my pregnancy, I was taking 13 units of Lantus.
I've seen that. I've seen it happen with many people.
And so they were telling me that, and see, I didn't gain any weight either. I gained, maybe my whole pregnancy, I gained.
What, under 15 pounds?
Mm-hmm. But I only gained that because they kept me in the hospital for 3 weeks. From 34 to 37, I was induced at 37. Okay. And I wasn't on bed rest, nothing. It was just they wanted to watch me.
That's typically when they want it at 37 weeks for people with type 1 diabetes.
And, my daughter, she was 5 pounds. She was 5 pounds because they told me, because my first appointment, I said, look, anything over 7 pounds, cut me open. Because, I'm small. I'm like, I'm not finna do that. Y'all cut me open.
So today, are you taking, you said 20 to 25 units. Is that total daily insulin or 20 to 25 units of basal? Because you said previously you were taking 26 units of Lantus. That made me correlate that with your basal.
Yeah, the 26 units of Lantus, that's just what I took nightly. That wasn't including, what I was, like, my sliding scale for when I ate and stuff. Mm-hmm.
So what do you take today for your total basal?
So I haven't really looked at what my total basal is like, before, but my hourly rate, I take 0.675 units. That's my hourly basal rate.
You do the same amount every hour?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You said 0.675?
Mm-hmm. And because, me and my other friends at work, we always, compare, like, I think one girl takes
16 units of basal per day.
Mm-hmm. And, the other just comes from correcting and bolusing when I eat.
So
And
at 16 units per day,
mm-hmm.
what is your typical fasting glucose numbers?
Waking up is about 112.
112.
Anywhere between 110 and about 130.
Okay. 110 and 130.
This morning it was a little high because I had one of those 4 a.m.
What are you staying in sleep mode?
I rarely use sleep mode.
Okay. But that's your control IQ adjusting is keeping you between 110 and 130.
And my, let me see, my correction factor is I do one unit for every 40 above my range. So if I'm, if they try to get me back down to 120 and it's 160, my pump will automatically give me 1 unit.
Mm-hmm.
And then my unit to carb ratio is 1 to 18, but sometimes I do 1 to 15.
You said 1 to 18.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do a lot of correcting? Because the numbers you give me right now, that's telling me that I will say your A1, if these numbers are correct, your A1C has to be around 6.3.
It's about my last one was a 6.7.
Yeah, I would say about 6.3 because you're between that 110 and 130 with your basal, and that usually gives a prediction of what your A1C would be.
But what's crazy is sometimes
do you get a lot of 2, 3? Do you get a lot of highs upon waking up?
No, I get so what I've started doing recently, I've started using that my the little dual bolus option, because sometimes when I eat, I think because of the gastroparesis.
I was just about to say that. I just wrote it down. GP. That was my next thing.
The insulin will hit my system before my food.
Definitely.
So it's and this is what I've been having problems with a lot lately. I drop, and then for some reason, when I drop, I feel symptomatic for a long time. And what do you do as long as you feel symptomatic? You're gonna eat stuff, you're gonna drink stuff. So boom, I bottom out.
I think a great reason why control IQ was introduced was to relieve a lot of the complications that do exist from type 1 diabetes, such as gastroparesis, knowing that many people who have that complication cannot pre-bolus. Many times, that's not an option unless you see a nutritionist and you know directly how your food will affect you. Because your pre-bolus, if you pre-bolus, you're pre-bolusing really empty, because your food may not fully break down until 7-8 hours later, as opposed to 1 to 2 hours with someone who doesn't have GP.
I have never pre-bolus for meals.
See,
I have never done that.
See, if you did pre-bolus and you didn't have GP, I'm going to predict that your A1C would be, you said 6 point, what did you say it is right now? 6.6, 6.5, 6.7. It would be a whole point less. Pre-bolusing alone drops it down 1 point, but I would never recommend that for someone who's living with gastroparesis at all.
And I'm gonna tell you, I don't pre-bolus because sometimes I don't.
And that's why you're a lot more sensitive to insulin, because of gastroparesis.
Well, I was only diagnosed with that at the beginning of last year. Well, hold on, at the beginning of about almost a year ago. But I've always, I think one of my saving graces, I have always been active, always. Like, even, do I go to the gym? No, but guess what I do when I'm at work on my break? I run up and down the steps. Like,
you're moving around that floor nonstop.
I'm always moving. I'm always, because I say, I'm trying to be one of them fine 40-year-old aunties. Mm-hmm. When I'm 45, I might want to be a cougar. If you're trying to be a cougar, you gotta stay fine. But no, I've always been active. I've always been active. Like I said, people be like, other people at work be asleep. I'd be like,
are you having a connection? Oh, there it is. It's back. You have froze up for about 5 seconds. You were talking, but it was like frozen. So I'm happy.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've always been active, always. And I feel like for me, because I knew from a long time ago, that's one thing that's always helped me with my diabetes, is staying active.
Right. Like yesterday, myself, like I know, like my daughter, she's 13. She runs track, and I coach her track team. Mm-hmm. I'm the head coach. And she goes to an all girls school, all black and brown girls, 22 girls on the track team. Okay. And I know when I'm out there on that field for that entire time, because those meets last 4 or 5 hours.
Oh yeah, and I remember those days.
I know the whole time while I'm out there on the field, like I really don't need anything. Like my blood sugar is good. Mm-hmm. I have like parents that I have assisting me, asking like Coach Will, you want me to get you something from the concession stand, or need a drink, need a snack? Nah, I'm good. They're like, you sure? You sure? I said, I'm 100%. Like I can stay about 90 to 100 the whole 4 to 5 hours. And that's just because I'm staying active, and I like my blood sugar is not dropping. It's just it's something my body's become adjusted to naturally.
If I was not active, my diabetes would be so much worse than what it is. It would.
Look, we have to be. I mean, everyone should be active a bit, because we know how it affects our muscle development and growth, our bone density, all of those things. So we got to do some kind of movement. We can't just stay stagnant and just say we're just going to take insulin and expect a magical like healing process to begin.
Let me tell you, people at work be laughing at me because I bring my resistant bands to work. I got all these little things, and they be like, "What you doing?" I'm like, doing what you ain't doing.
Look, you gotta get. Is your daughter involved in track or anything? Like, look, you rolled your eyes like you need her to be involved in track, right?
She don't want to do anything.
So you can assist with that.
It breaks my heart. All she want to do is stay in her room and play Roblox. That's the only thing she want to play is Roblox.
Roblox and TikTok.
And I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it.
That darn Roblox. That's my.
I heard involved in volleyball.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So we, even though volleyball wasn't a strong sport for me, I know how to serve. I know how to bump. So we go out. Even days I have to go to work. I leave at 5:30 going to work, but when she get home from school, we're gonna go outside for at least 30 minutes to an hour and be active.
Right. If you want some Robux. look, my kids don't even ask for Robux anymore. Like my daughter, she plays it with her friends. Like when she gets home from school sometimes. My oldest son, he's 15. He plays it. He plays it more than anyone. And my youngest son, he's 10. He plays it somewhat, but he's not really big into Roblox. He's more into like life science, life cycles, world history, things like those are the things that he loves.
I wish I could get her a Nokia where the only option she had was Snake. Yeah.
Snake. Look, maybe you have to do that. Look, get her out there, get out there on the track and have her run with you.
And I ain't gonna lie, I'm a sore loser. Last time we raced, I barely beat her, and that was like 2-3 years ago. I will not.
Look,
I will not race her.
You gotta tell her now. You can't beat me now. You can't let her look. Look, you got to get her out there, get her involved in a local track club. I don't know if her school has track or whatnot, but something that you would enjoy, and you would
And
enjoy
so,
partnering to help coach or assist.
and I always felt guilty because of the way that I work. And when I say I don't have no help, it's always been hard for me to put her in sports because,
Right.
she might miss a practice, she might miss a game. I want her to get the full experience. So I've never really put her in anything. But and now I feel like, pretty much everybody who plays sports now have been playing sports since they were, little. But if you have a natural talent, kind of don't matter when you start. But because like I said, I played 3 sports. Her dad was a really good football player. He used to play at Alabama, before Alabama got their notoriety with Nick Saban. But and even her dad's mom, she played basketball in college. So I ain't never seen a baby just come out, just cut up like she did. She was never a little fat, squishy baby. She was always kind of muscular. And I'm like, even now, she still has an athletic physique, even though she don't do nothing.
But Roblox,
Right.
the Roblox Olympics.
I mean, those 4 arms, yeah. Little Popeye.
Yeah, Roblox it's a monster of its own. I know that you being the person you are, the mom that you are, you're gonna do whatever it takes to make sure that your daughter achieves not only her own dreams, but dreams you have for her also. Because I know that being a single parent, a single mother, like who does have a chronic health condition, you have so many different things that are really not in your favor, but you're in God's favor. So you got that on your side. I'm sure you have a strong family backing as well, because you mentioned it. You mentioned your mama. Yep, your mama a couple good times.
Me and my mom still bump heads. She might get on this podcast and tell you a completely different story, and I'll be like,
but that's her story.
It is, and I ain't gonna lie.
Look, just like your coworker, she'll get on here and tell me a whole other story.
I've told my mama multiple times, I should have got a lot more whoopings, because if my child behaved like I did, all right now. Like me, most time all I gotta do is look at you and be like, all right now.
Do you were diagnosed again at 11 years old. What were you in? 5th grade or 6th grade?
6th grade.
6th grade. So you were 11, beginning of 6th grade.
Yeah, November.
November, yeah, beginning of 6th grade. So I did ask earlier, like, so you had to probably be out of school for a week, right?
Actually, I was diagnosed the day before Thanksgiving.
Oh,
and so the way our schools are, we used to go. Now they're out for a whole week, but we used to go Monday, Tuesday, and be out until the following Monday. So I'll never forget. I guess it would have been November the 26th, 1996. We went to a basketball game, and I remember, running around with my friends. I did, pee quite a few times, and the next day, I don't think I knew my mama had made an appointment, but she took me to the doctor that next morning, and I'll never forget, Dr. Smith walked back in, and he sat down and grabbed my hand, and he was like, "You have diabetes." And I knew what it was. Oh, I instantly cried. I cried like a little baby, because all I knew was I had to take shots and I couldn't eat no sugar. I cried like a baby. And so right after that, they sent me to the hospital, and my first day in the hospital, the educator came by, and this is old school. To practice taking shots, she had an orange. And so that's what we practice on, how to, the correct way to inject yourself. And once I saw how my mama injected that orange, I said, nah, I started giving my own shots the first day I was diagnosed. I'm like, nah, Pearl, I don't trust you.
You ain't like how your mom was injecting the orange.
Nah, because she was like, And I'm like,
And that was probably at a time before everyone was getting big into carbohydrates and counting. It was more the exchange rate. There's like you get
because
this amount of starches, this amount of like fruits and vegetables, and it was like consistent with every meal. Yep.
Meat, 1 carb, 1 green vegetable. And I ain't gonna lie, that's the way I cook now. Like when I cook, I have a meat, I have 1 carb, and I have 1 green vegetable. Because I ain't gonna lie, sometimes when I feel like I'm just really getting off track with my diabetes, I have to stop and I have to go back to diabetes 101, where, I'll even, I'll measure my food sometimes. And it's like, I'd be like, dang, I wish I could do that all the time. But, I live in a real world and that don't work for me. But like I said, but sometimes when I do really feel like I get off track, I just go back to diabetes 101.
Now,
But
you were talking about your diagnosis story about Dr. Smith saying you have diabetes, and first thought to you was I'm going to have to take shots. I can't eat candy. How did that affect that 11-year-old child being diagnosed?
It was.
And today, do you see where therapeutic measures such as trauma-informed therapies would have been able to assist you and help you?
Okay, so I think a long time ago, when I was diagnosed, it was always that stigma of you can't have it. Like sugar is a no-no. Regular drinks is a no-no. Cake is a no-no. Ice cream, candy, you just can't have it.
You can't be a kid anymore.
And I feel like now they teach people more about moderation. I did not learn about moderation until, I pretty much, was out the house and I think that was another reason why I just kind of went crazy and just did what I wanted to do, because it's like, you telling me no, 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 no. I'm going to tell myself yes. So a lot of times, like, I'd be at school, I told you I was a little bad. I would say, go to the bathroom, and I would always have a little extra money, and I would sneak to the machines and give me some candy or get a drink while wasn't nobody looking. Because, back in the day, we didn't have cameras in the school. Right when, the drink come out the vending machine, of course it's going to make a loud sound. I would just grab it and take off running, and then go in the bathroom and just, oh my God, like drink. It was Fruitopia back in the day, Fruitopia.
I remember Fruitopia.
Yeah, I would chug down a little 20-ounce Fruitopia without stopping, just like that. And then, like I said, I really wasn't taught to carb count, when I was first diagnosed. It was more of, you take this long-acting insulin, and then I wasn't on a sliding scale. You just take so many units of this other insulin per meal. And then, check your blood sugar 2 hours later. There was no correcting. There was no, if you check your blood sugar and it's this, then you correct. Because let me tell you one thing about me, what my doctors kind of found amazing. I was in my honeymoon phase for a long time, a real long time.
I've known people that have been in honeymoon phases for upwards of 12 years. I mean, today they would consider that lotta, but yeah, there's many people.
I was in my honeymoon phase for about 3 years. And like I said, even when I came out of my honeymoon phase, I have never required a lot of insulin. Let me tell you, I
know some people only use 8 units a day. Some people use some people use 200 units. But they all have they all cover the same auto antibodies.
Mhm.
That
I never knew there was like a super concentrated insulin until not that long ago.
Mhm.
I never knew that.
And then there's things such as U200 and U500 insulin.
I met a girl. She was my patient, and like I said, it was one of them moments where, because like at work, you always finna see my insulin pump. You always gonna see it. I don't hide it. I always have it on my side.
Mhm.
And so when I went in to go see her, she was like, she grabbed my hand and she sat up. She was like, "You know what I'm going through?" And I'm like, "I've never had a seizure before." And she was like, "No," she said, "I'm a type 1 diabetic too." And when I say I stayed in that girl's room for almost 2 hours, we were just talking and crying. And to this day, I call her, or she calls me once a week, and like I'm her accountability partner. And that just
Is this a
that it.
young person?
She's maybe a year or two older than me, but she has a lot of complications.
Community is needed. We need that. I
Mhm.
mean, and we need that person that's near us that we can
Mhm.
reach out to and literally touch.
And I've always felt lucky because a lot of the like in my lifetime, a lot of the Black diabetics I met, they just had the basic necessities. Like me, I was blessed. I had everything I needed. I've always had everything I needed, even when I wasn't doing right when I was a teenager. I mean, when I was first diagnosed, I went for I had years of education. So I've always had the education. It was just always on me. It was because I didn't want to do right. But like I said,
You were a
even now
kid.
when I yeah,
And I
I
think of
was.
like things like, say you were 6th, 7th grade and you had, I mean, you said you were a straight A student, but I mean, we know that like there's times when
Mhm.
when some assignments may have been turned in late.
Oh, let me tell you what happened when I was in
That
college.
look, that assignment of diabetes was turned in late.
When I was in college, the last time I got sick with diabetes, I was in college. I forgot about that. I was in college. I had got sick around November, which that's towards the end of the semester, and I had missed a few tests, and I just wasn't doing good. I had to do an academic appeal, and thank goodness I was able to drop those classes without a penalty. I just had to take them over. And that's why I tell everybody who's in school, in high school or college, get you a 504 plan. I knew nothing about FMLA when I first started working because it was and I called my supervisors and managers out about this because they try to deter people from getting FMLA, and I told them, I said that is so wrong. I was there 3 years before I even knew what FMLA was, because like that was kind of like my first real job. That's another story for another day. But I was disgusted because it's like, why wouldn't you want me to have this? Because they were scared I was probably going to abuse it. And it's like, whether I abuse it or not, that ain't none of your business, because I've always been so defensive about having diabetes. Just like you saw that story that I put in the group where I was at the comedy show, and yes, we had put our little phones in these little bags that they locked up. But when I went to the concession stand and ate and pulled out my pump and started bolusing, tap on the shoulder, it was like, "You gotta go." I was like,
now I need to hear that of the full. I mean, I need to hear a story. You're saying you were at a comedy club. 99% of the people have not heard this story. This is a
okay,
story
so
that needs to. This is a story that needs to be told and need to be explained, because as people living with type 1 diabetes, we know that we need our devices. We should not try. We should not have to hide them fear of being rejected, any of those things. But at the same time, these institutions, these people, these celebrities, these security personnel, they need to know about these things also. They need to be advised and educated that these devices are needed for me to live. These devices I cannot go without. So could you please share with us that story?
So, like I said, I went to it was January last year. Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle were headlining a comedy show, and we had it at a arena down here. And so I went to the show, and of course, when I went through security, I always take my pump off when I go through like a metal detector or something. So I took my pump off. I mean, security knew I had the insulin pump, and I told them, "Say, hey, it's an insulin pump." They was like, "Oh, you're fine." But of course, I had to put my watch and my cell phone in a bag that they locked. Like they locked it, with their own little key or whatever. And I'm cool with that because as long as I got my insulin pump, I know what my blood sugar is. So everything was cool, We got to the show, hee hee ha ha, laugh, laugh, laugh. Intermission came, and every time I'm somewhere where nachos in the building, I'm gonna get some nachos. And usually I drink a lot of water. I feel like having a Sprite that night. So I'm like, carb count, I'm fine. And I didn't drink the whole Sprite. Like, I always make myself feel better. Instead of drinking the whole Sprite, I'm gonna drink about a third of it. So of course, what did I do after I eat? And that night I had my insulin pump in my bra. So I pulled it out, and right as I'm in the middle of bolusing, excuse me, ma'am, you gotta leave.
Did they think that you hid your phone in your bra? Or
I don't know what they thought it was, but I guess they
or
thought
camera or something, recorder.
They thought it was something because you had to put all devices had to be in the bag. So they had because it's people, the little event staff, they're everywhere watching. They're everywhere in the big arena. And so they tapped me on my shoulder. He was like, "You got to go," because it was already, everybody knew that if you got caught with your camera or something, you would be put out the show. And I got that. I'm looking like, "What's up? You got to go." I'm like, "Why?" He was like, "Because of that." I said, "I'm not leaving." He was like, "Ma'am, you're going to have to get up and come with me." And so by this point, I'm like, well, y'all better be glad I ain't had no Remy in my system. But I was like, I said, "Do you know what this is?" And he was like, "It's a phone or it's something." I said, "No, it's not." I said, "This is an insulin pump." And he had a confused look on his face. He was like, "You still got to go." I said, "I'm not leaving nowhere." I said, "I'm not going anywhere. I'm not leaving." I'm talking about, at this point, even though it was intermission, everybody got to look quiet because, we knows. And so everybody was like, "What's going on over there?" And I'm like, I'm not leaving. I'm not going nowhere. And then he was like, "Ma'am, just come with me." And I said, "No." And my friend was like, "Babe," he was like, "Friend," he was like, "Just calm down." I said, "No, I'm not going to calm down." And he said, "You can't have that." I said, "This is an insulin pump." I said, "I'm a diabetic." And then I had my Dexcom on my arm, so I rolled up my sweater, and I'm like, "You see this?" And then I stood up. It was in my stomach, but I'm like, "It's right here." And he was just like, and I said, "It ain't no device." And he was like, and he just kind of looked like, "My bad." And I was like, "Okay, well, get the F out my face." I get a little defensive. I do. Cause it's like, you disturbed me. But, even after the fact, I felt humiliated. I was embarrassed. I got up and went to the bathroom and I cried. because I'm like, that shouldn't have happened. So it's like, I feel like I couldn't even fully enjoy the show. Chris Rock had came on. I was waiting for Dave Chappelle. I really want to see Dave Chappelle because, you know, I love Dave Chappelle, but mm, I couldn't believe it happened. And like I said, I was just in shock, like this really just happened. And it just like kept replaying in my mind. And then I'm thinking about everybody looking and being nosy. And I'm thinking, oh, on my way out, I told the security people, I said, y'all need to educate y'all's people on what medical devices are and what they look like.
Right.
But
They don't
I wasn't happy.
first, yeah, that should not have occurred. It shouldn't have happened to anyone. And I know that it happens regularly, like daily, to hundreds, if not thousands of people who are living with something such as type 1 diabetes. They don't understand, and this is something that needs to be broken down. It's very simple. We, the people who are living with this condition, not only did we not choose it, but it takes a whole lot for us to be able to break down and embrace and be able to show these devices, this technology, these gadgets, even though we know they help us in our healing and they lessen the burden, which is diabetes on us, but it's a great burden on us to have these devices just showing openly. And you have reached that stage in your life where you were open to being able to show, like, I am Veronica. I live with type 1 diabetes, and no one here is going to invade my space and make me feel anything less than human. You were at that stage in your life, and now for them to approach you and tell you no, you can't, and deny you, straight reject you of being unapologetically the person who you've been over the last 20 plus years, picking yourself up to, embracing yourself to become. You have fully developed into the person that you knew all those years previously, as you said, was as I quote, bad, as someone who didn't take the necessary steps and measures to be at their best. Today at that show, you were taking the necessary steps to be at your best. And they intruded on that. They impeded on that process in your journey. So you went from this young girl who had to take upon the blunt of all of this and learn it as an adolescent into teen years, college years, faced with many complications, many stigmas, all of those things. And now you're at an event where all you want to do is just enjoy the company of your people, enjoy the show. Now you're in a bathroom being broken down for being you. The humanitarian and what is people, what is the organization or whoever trained these people in their jobs needs to be held accountable for that. And that's future reference. But you in that moment, no one truly understands the feels you were going through, except for someone else who's going through that, who's been rejected, been declined. When you know that you're doing everything you can just to live a healthy life.
Didn't do anything wrong, and I was actually doing the right thing. You know, I was doing the right thing. I'm trying to eat and take medicine for what I have eaten so I don't suffer the repercussions of a high blood sugar later on. But it's like, that I just could not believe it. Like that just did not sit well with me. And then for me, it was a simple fact that after I told you what it was, you were still trying to make me leave until I had to stand up and expose myself,
Right. And it makes me think, like, if you were, say, a toddler and a mom was bolusing for a toddler, would they have approached you? If you were an elder person, 70 and up, and you were in there and you pulled out the device and you told them it's a medical device, would they have done anything? It makes me think that because, I mean, you're a young Black woman with a device. That's a whole nother approach to stigmatizing or being prejudiced against someone because of really just who you are.
And then I really couldn't show my ass like I wanted to because I was with the assistant district attorney. So, so I'm trying to remember, okay, I'm a professional. I'm with another, professional. But when I wish it had been on my booty cheek because I would have literally showed my ass.
And you would have been a part of that. You would have been a part of the show.
Yeah, and then the good thing about no phones, nobody could have recorded it.
Exactly.
But that was just that was real embarrassing. And it's the same thing. Like I don't get embarrassed at the airport because it is what it is. I know people crazy and I get it at the airport. But ever since the first time I left my pump on when I went through TSA and they had to check my hands, I'm like, what are y'all doing? This ain't no bomb. I'm like, it's in me. I don't even go through that no more. I just take it off as I go through TSA. Because I'm like, no, y'all ain't finna check me like I'm. And like I said, I get it because people are crazy, but I'm like, dog, this is like, y'all ain't got no technology to see that this is just a for real medical device.
Right. So what I do before I fly is I actually get a letter. So you can actually go on the TSA website and there's a form for if you have anything that needs to be accommodated for, such as a medical related issue or concern. Print that out, fill it out, and all you have to do, like, show it to them at the window. And you can bypass the line. You can get a wand check.
Now, when it comes to boarding, let's just say if you on Southwest, would they let you board first?
Yes. I board first every time.
Don't tell
every
me that now.
time. You know how usually they're like, well, if you have this whatever priority, or if you have this credit card or blah blah blah, whatever promotion. No. When the people in the wheelchairs get up, I get up. Look, people, there's a big fight within even our diabetic community. Living with type 1 diabetes is a disadvantage. It's unfair. That is a disability.
Yes.
It is a disability.
Yes. I had to check my my manager the other day because sometimes I have to remind people I look normal, but my body isn't normal.
Right.
And sometimes I hate when it gets to that point where I have to tell people that, because it's like I get so mad when people feel like that I might be crying wolf or something, and so I get so stressed out because I put so much pressure on myself to do and produce what everybody else does. Sometimes I feel like I have to go above and beyond just to show you that I can do it. But it's like I got to a point in my life when I need to stop, I'm going to stop. Like I'm done trying to, suffer to, make sure tasks get completed and stuff. And because like I said, I used to be running around the hospital giving breathing treatments. My blood sugar 50, and I'm like, okay, I only got a few more to do.
Mm-hmm.
And, we got to do them by a certain time. But I'm to the point, whatever. I'm here for 12 hours. They'll get it. And I'm like, I had to take care of myself so I don't become a patient.
Right.
I don't need them. Yeah.
It's more than insulin. It's more than carbohydrates or food consumption. It's so much more than that. It's like we are living with both a physical and mental disadvantage.
You have to be mentally strong to take care of yourself.
You have to be.
Either you're going to control it or it will control you. And when it was a few years after my diagnosis, there was another girl. She was, let me see, at the time, my older sister was maybe like 22, 23. She was a few years older than my sister. She died from complications of diabetes because she just didn't take care of herself. And her dad, he's on the little, like, whatever, like little boards and stuff in the county. And when I told him about my nonprofit, he was like, anything you need from me, anything you need to be done, he's like, I'll do it. And I got this inspiration from you. You know how you were going around, having everybody give their little videos.
Mm-hmm.
My campaign for this November, I'm going to go around doing just like little short interviews with people. I'm going to interview other type 1 diabetics, parents of type 1 diabetics. And for him, like, I definitely want to interview him, because he had a child who died from it.
So, Veronica, this is what I'm going to give to you, because I've been trying to figure out a way because I've told everyone, like, I've done those campaigns, Diabetes Looks Like Who, for the last 3 years. And I've been trying to transition away from that. People keep asking me, like, are you going to do the next one? Can I be on the next one? And right here today, I'm going to let people know I am transitioning out of that. I'm putting down my pen, stepping away from the recorder, the mic, everything, the editing with that. Veronica, I'm going to gift that platform to you. So everyone that I have, I'll gift that to you. And once you come, like, you fully develop everything you want to do, I'll make sure anyone in the community that you need to reach, like, I'll reach them and gift them to you, because I do not want to hold in any of the resources that I have. That does nothing for me at all. Like, if I can't gift to you those things, then they just go afloat in the sea somewhere without being able to be picked up and letting that dream continue. So, yeah.
Well, thank you. Because like I said, I'm just like I told you when I first met you, like, and at the time you didn't know that, that I was really wanting to do this because of what happened to my sister. But I'm ready to jump in and just do what I can to spread awareness. And I just want to do what I can, man, because it's something that affects so many of us. And I think a lot of us, we just like a lot of our feelings towards diabetes, instead of trying to figure them out or process them, we just push it down. But, I want more people to, instead of cope with diabetes, I want people to embrace it.
Right. To truly live with it. Not live like in life and death, but live, like, be able to. You have to.
Because, you can do, we can't do everything a normal person can do, because, we still got to do it and be a diabetic, but you can live like it doesn't have to control you. It doesn't have to define you. And even living with mild complications, because I choose to live. I'm going to live because I choose to live. I choose to live. I have my reason whys. my daughter, and, my nieces. They're a big, big, big part of my life, because their mother's gone. So it's like I have to step up. And, like I said, I gotta, I'm gonna leave my mark. I'm gonna leave my mark.
You will. You're creating a legacy.
And I can't wait until, you get whatever you're gonna do together. I'm pulling up. I'm pulling
Look,
up.
what we do.
Yes.
This is
Yeah.
a look. I love working in teams.
Me
When I
too.
was a kid, I did not like because I felt like I did all the work and I didn't even care about what everybody else did. But as I've grown, like I love being a part of a team because everyone can use what they have for us to reach our ultimate goal. The ultimate goal with diabetes is, for me, is lessening the burden for everyone else, destigmatizing what it is, um, making sure that the mass public and media outlets know what it is living with insulin dependence, type 1 diabetes beyond just the insulin and the food and the need for counting carbs and all of that. To
I tell
know,
people all the time, we have to be our own doctors. We have to be our own nurses. We have to be mathematicians, because people without the pump, if your blood sugar is 263 and you got to bring it down back to, whatever your 120, 130, you got to do math. Like, we constantly do a math. And I think that's why I love numbers so much. But we got to do math. We're, like I said, our own doctors. We're, and we have a condition where we have to figure stuff out on ourselves by ourselves a lot of the time. We can't always reach out to our doctors, because if we did, they get so tired of us. So a lot of it is like people, they just give us the basic, the blueprint, but because we are all so different, it's like everybody got to put their own little spin to it, because like I said, just like me and my friends at work, we were talking. Like, one of my friends, she take 1 unit for every six grams of carbs, and I'm like, dang. Another one, she take 1 for every 9. I'm like, well, I take 1 for every 15 or 18. So it's like everybody's so different. We're the same, but we all so different. And I guess that's the beauty of, finding other people with it, and, talking to, not just I don't know. It's just so much that can be done. Like, I just get so passionate about it. I just want to do whatever I can. And like I said, I love collaborating.
there's so much that need to be done in within this online or social media space. There's opportunities that exist for us all. It took many years, and I was knocking down doors, letting people know, because I'm unapologetically myself always. I will tell every organization, I will pull up on them and let them know that you do not have people that look like me, that represent people that look like me. Representation matters, and it is needed. Let me tell you, Veronica, over the last week, I've had 2 big organizations reach out to me, wanting me to collaborate and partner with them. And once I get in the door, and I'm sharing that with everyone, because there's no need for me to hold it. I'm not, we see via social media, especially on Instagram, you'll see, like, when we consider, like, I will never ever call myself an influencer. I'm just me, unapologetically me. And I don't look, I can give, I'm going to have to mute this out, but I can give 2 fucks about what they think. Like seriously, it's all about me, my people, helping us rise. Like, I'm backed by the spirits of Dr. King, Malcolm X, my iconic hero, Mr. One, Tupac Shakur. Like, I'm backed by that. I have those spirits helping me. I'm deeply rooted with my ancestrals, like my ancestors and my ancestral background. So really, like, I don't need these organizations. They need me.
Yeah.
And I do let them know that.
One thing that was going to be one of the focuses of what my nonprofit is going to do, and I think we should all do this, because you know how in all these ads you see people with Down syndrome, you see people with vitiligo. Where the pops the CGMs? And I'm like, I want to see people in the ads who look like me. You know, you see plus size women. I want to see pumps and CGMs on some of these arms and pants of people in these ads. And so
just throw it on them.
Yeah. And so one of my friends, he has his own clothing line. And I asked him, I said, when you do your next fashion show, I'm going to be in it and I'm going to walk with my pump and CGM exposed. He was like, for real? I said, yeah. Mm-hmm. He was like, okay. And so, you know, I know it's just a little local, but you got to start somewhere because, so, you know, I told you my family has a cotton farm, right? We just got a partnership with Victoria's Secret where we'll be producing, we'll be giving them the cotton that they'll use to produce their products. And do you ever go in Target around Black History Month? Mm-hmm. You know how they sell all those shirts? My family produces the cotton to make those T-shirts. A few years ago, on every shirt, they had, like my uncles and my first cousins, they had a picture on every shirt. A little tag. Mm-hmm. But representation matters. And, you know, I just feel like the more of us, you know, if we see it in ads, you know, I feel like that'll give us a boost of confidence we need. And it's needed.
We are needed. Our representation goes beyond what we see daily on our social media feeds. We don't need every person of color who's an influencer to be someone that's always glammed up. We don't need that. When we see people who, we see non-people of color just doing regular bull, like seriously, why can't we be our regular, authentic selves?
Mm-hmm. We need to make a TV show.
Look, a reality show.
Yeah, because
type reality.
Right. To just think, you know. I mean, can you imagine recording about 2 or 3 of us go low at the same time?
Look.
I promise I ain't gonna bite nobody's titty.
Look, y'all. I hope you don't. I hope you don't go around here talking about when it rains it pours.
But
yeah, it's a flood going on down here.
And like I said, and the fact that, you know, when I came back to work after that situation, so many people who said they thought I was just playing, and I'm like, why would I play like that? Like, why would I take it to that extreme? Like, I love my job.
Side note, do you think that I'll be flagged if I keep coochie in here?
You know what you can do? Maybe when I say coochie, maybe you can put a picture, that little emoji of a cat or something, have it flash across my mouth.
So, because I'm up here thinking like old people listening to the audio.
Because I'm like, I mean, because if you bleeped it out, I mean, maybe, because I mean, what would you bleep out? You wouldn't bleep out underarms, and you wouldn't bleep out butt crack,
right?
And then maybe if you just take the audio out, people can see.
Maybe if I take off the "k" and it just says "Uchi."
Yeah.
Look, I'm trying to think about it, but as we do wind down and wrap up, I always leave with this, V, because I'm greatly appreciative of you joining me on this journey, which is the Chronically Well podcast. But I must ask you this here today:
Mhm.
Picture this. You wake up one day. Diabetes has been fully eradicated. Like it's gone. We don't have to have any questions. Like it's not any kind of stem cell therapy. Like it's just gone. Like it's wiped away. On that day, which I wish would occur,
Mhm.
what do you do at that moment when you find out and you know like diabetes is gone?
For me, it would be a happy and sad moment all at the same time. Happy because I don't have diabetes no more. Sad because it's a part of my identity. I've been a diabetic for more than half of my life. Um, but just the fact that I don't know how I would feel because I've never liked to be normal, you know. Um, like I said, but I would be happy not having to worry about all the what ifs, wouldn't have any anxiety about that, wouldn't have no worries, to for that part of your life to be normal, it would life changing. I don't have to worry about dying early, I don't have to worry about being in a group that's at the top of the list of being at risk for heart disease, stroke, blindness, amputation. It would be a huge relief. But like I said, it would be bittersweet because you would like you've brought together this community of us, losing that community, losing that connection with people. That would be hard. That would be hard. But just, in your everyday life, it would it would be hard to imagine because like I said, I've been living with it for almost 28 years and I'm 38. So it would for me it would be hard to imagine. But it would I know a burden would be lifted. It would be a sigh of relief, like I said, not having to worry about other things so many other people don't have to worry about. Like I said, not being here prematurely. So yeah.
Veronica, I
Mm-hmm.
wholeheartedly felt that you have lived more of your life with diabetes than without.
Mm-hmm.
More than 2/3 of your life you have lived with the diabetes. So I understand that true sentiment because I mean, I've been living with it for 21 years. You've been living with it for 28. Our diabetes has grown up with us. We've watched it develop. We've taken it out for its first driving class and course. We've crashed
Mm-hmm.
with it. Diabetes has lifted us up when we were down.
Mm-hmm.
Diabetes.
I've never celebrated my anniversary, but it's more than just making a post, but it's time to celebrate because I feel like for us diabetics, our anniversaries are just as important as our birthdays.
Yes. So maybe 3 years ago, I first started celebrating my anniversary, and I equally stopped celebrating my birthday as much. And I've told my
Mm-hmm.
family that this continued second chance at life means so much more to me. Like my birthday, I gift that to my parents. That's your day. I gifted that to them then. Like, thank you. I called them up and thanked them for my life. But this continued second chance of life, this is mine.
Mm-hmm.
Veronica, thank you. I appreciate you for joining me on this journey That is the
Thank you
Chronically
for
Well podcast, where we hold real conversations with
Mhm.
community that need to be heard. And Veronica, you need to be heard.
We all need to be heard. We all need to be heard. But I'm like I said, I'm ready to jump in and do what I can to bring more light to what we go through. And I know I'm in Alabama, but I'm gonna make some shake. I'm gonna make something shake. And my focus at first was more for the adults, but I I have found out that I can connect to kids and teens just as easy as I can with adults. And I feel like, I'm really thinking more about the adolescents and teens because of the hard times that I went through. I know I can't say certain stuff to them, but I know. So, like I said, I have some things in the works. For my nonprofit, it's just starting up. But some of the fundraisers, some of the things I'm going to do fundraisers for. Kind of started a little bit late this year, but in Alabama, about an hour and a half from me, there's a really big, one of the biggest diabetes camps probably in the region is an hour and a half from me, and I have somebody designing T-shirts for me, and I'm going to start selling shirts as a fundraiser because I feel like every kid should go to diabetes camp. And when I used to go, out of about 200 kids, I saw about maybe 5 or 10 that looked like me. And I know I can't pick and choose who I want to help, but I feel like every kid should attend diabetes camp.
So this is what I'm going to advise you to do to get that ball rolling is under HIPAA laws. We know we can't get information from patients or clients or whatever, but what you can do under your nonprofit is go to your local or the biggest pediatric diabetes center in your area and and share your information with them and ask them if they could share that with families. And you will have some people that reach out to you.
Because, and even though nobody showed up to my adult support group meeting, when I go to my doctor tomorrow, I'm going to, I have something that I'm going to ask if he can just, put it up or I'm going to ask him, if you have some of your other patients who need help, need uplifting, like get them in contact with me.
Right. Create a one-pager, a card, business card. I've done that. And
I do have some, right here.
All right. Veronica, it is short of 1:00. I have to go. And I like that business card.
Well, look, we will
continue our conversation.
We will. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I hope that this was everything that you thought it would be.
It was. And like I said, I'm ready for round 2 because I got a lot to talk about.
Are you a person living with type 1 diabetes? If you answered yes, then I need for you to do me a big favor that will benefit the future for T1Ds moving forward. Join the T1D registry today so that your voice as a person living with T1D matters. Sharing your T1D experience can help to bring your insights into the development of new products and treatments. Once enrolled, you will be notified about other T1D research opportunities like surveys, focus groups, and clinical trials. Participation in research should reflect the diversity of all people living with type 1 diabetes. Why wait? Join the T1D Exchange registry today via my link, t1dexchange.org/will, that's WILL, dash streets, STREETS. That's t1dexchange.org/will-streets.